Good afternoon, my friends, and welcome to Take 5 to Recharge. I am your host, Pastor Bala. I pray you are having a great day, and by the time we finish, I pray you'll be feeling fantastic. We are going through Mark Batterson's book, 40-Day Prayer Challenge, in preparation for Lent, and today we'll be focusing on day one. Yesterday we talked a little bit about the introduction, and we want to talk about day one. And I want to start with this quote. It says, "If you pray to God regularly, irregular things will happen on a regular basis." And again, I just want to reiterate that, right? If you pray to God regularly, irregular things will happen on a regular basis. Now, that's a truth worth pondering. Now, in the book of Acts, in the New Testament, chapter 10, there's a wonderful story about a man named Cornelius, who was a Jewish man, who was not a Jewish man, but a Gentile. He apparently prayed often and gave alms or charity to Jewish people around him. One day, he had a dream. And in that dream, he was instructed to send for a man called Simon Peter, who was an apostle. And Simon Peter, 32 miles away, was also praying, and he had a dream. Now, in the natural state of affairs, Jews had nothing to do with Gentiles. So theoretically, these two men should have never had the privilege of meeting one another. They were two different people, two different backgrounds, and different faiths. But Cornelius had heard about the God of the Jewish people. And even in his lack of understanding of God, he felt the need to pray. I mean, how many of us have reached a certain difficult point in our lives that even though we didn't fully believe in God or understand God, but yet in our struggles, we actually just prayed. And if someone said to us, "Can I pray for you?" we'd say, "Sure, of course." Now, Peter's dream challenged him to break the Jewish norms of interacting with non-Jewish people. And in his dream, Peter was told that some Gentiles will be asking for him. So when Peter finished praying and realized that some of the Gentiles people were there to ask him to go with them, he had to make a decision. Was God really speaking to me? He must have wondered. You know, oftentimes when God is asking us to do something which is outside of our comfort zone, our tendency is often to resist and to ask for confirmation over and over again. The lesson here is this: God always communicates to us. And God is always, and I want you to just get this point here, God is always orchestrating things in heaven that are beyond our comprehension. So Peter's obedience created the most amazing opportunity, because Peter went to Cornelius' house, and all of Cornelius' family and friends had the opportunity to hear the gospel, and they were saved. Now, isn't it interesting that Peter had to leave his house and travel 32 miles from Joppa to Caesarea? Why didn't Cornelius go find Peter? After all, Cornelius was the one who needed Peter. But the fact of the matter is that God told Cornelius to call on Peter. And God told Peter that somebody was coming for him and that he was to go to Cornelius' house. So the secret is we need to be still enough in order to listen to that still small voice and hear what God is telling us. And God can be very specific if we are listening. This is where obedience is so important. Now, has your life become so routine and predictable that nothing has changed? I want to share with you this quote right here. If you establish a prayer routine, your life will be anything but routine. Again, let me remind you of what we talked about yesterday as a quote, right? Can our prayers change our circumstances? The answer is absolutely. But when our circumstances don't change, it's often an indication that God is trying to change us. Remember, the primary purpose of prayer is not to change circumstances. The The primary purpose of prayer is to change us. But either way, the chief objective remains the same: to glorify God in any and every circumstance. I pray you have been encouraged today through this meditation. I want to thank you for joining me for another installment of Take 5 to Recharge. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 12:15. Make sure you invite someone to join you tomorrow as well. Now may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him today, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Have a blessed rest of your day. See you tomorrow, the good Lord willing. Take care.